of the NRC brand, gives his insight and thoughts on the world of comic books, gaming, tech, and media industries as the host of Neo Reality Collective. Experience a slew of regular episodes covering news and pop culture, along with reviews and editorial pieces showcasing the best and worst of our ever-expanding multimedia world.
After 20 goddamn years, we're finally getting it. Marvel and DC Comics set to reunite once again. At the ComicsPRO event in California, it was dropped by a panel hosted by DC Comics editor-in-chief and Marvel's editor-in-chief. They announced that, talking about the omnibuses they released last year, the DC Amalgam Age Omnibus and the DC vs. Marvel Omnibus, that were doing pretty damn well in the sales, because people want to see this crossover again, and the fact that they still are not releasing just JLA/Avengers, because, you know, we hate money for some reason at the same time. But after this announcement, I'm definitely knowing that they should definitely consider doing it. Re-releasing it in Absolute Treasury format if they want. So they talked about it, and Marvel's editor-in-chief CB talked about it and saying, "We really enjoyed working together. This was a really good project you have done." But I think there's another white whale that we got, with DC's editor-in-chief saying, "I'm trying to figure out what you could possibly be talking about." With CB then responding with, "Another crossover? Modern crossover? Are you up for it?" Yep. So it was announced at ComicsPRO event that there would be two big one-shots, DC Marvel and Marvel DC, that will pit our characters that we've grown up for the last 20 plus years, especially ever since the last crossover event. They're all coming back together for one big crossover, and I am excited for it. Even Dan Mora and other artists are now pitching their stuff to the DC Marvel teams, and are coming to, and they haven't surprisingly announced it on their main site. Like, on either of their main sites, you would think they would want to have this announcement on their big sites to, you know, crash the servers, hopefully, because this is a big deal to see this crossover event. That is the last time JLA Avengers crossed over. It is canon. I will remind you all that is considered canon in both continuities. They just can't say each other's names, even though they clearly should have. But that's where the storyline established at the end, that is part of the MCU as well, that the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones don't work outside of its native universe. So, like, if you took the Infinity Stone, because there's a scene where Darkseid got the Infinity Stones in Gauntlet, and was like, "I can feel the power. I have the power. I am infinite, sir." Desaad comes in, basically cuts him off, saying, "Sir, we have a problem. Now, you're right, you can feel the power cosmic, but you can't use it, because apparently this doesn't work outside of its native universe." And Darkseid more or less was like, "Well, my weekend is canceled. Oh, I'm gonna go back to finding my comfy chair again." And then just toss the Infinity Gauntlet with the stones embedded into it to the ground, because, well, it's not gonna work for him, it's practically useless. And that has been a canon staple for the last 20 plus years, and even goes into the MCU even. So that says a lot of how important this is, how JLA Avengers was so important to the modern comic storytelling group. Even Hickman keep acknowledging it from time to time. But yeah, Dan Mora even posted a sketch of Spider-Man and Batman together in announcing this thing, and when I heard this, I was like, "Oh god, you gotta get Dan Mora on this. He is so freaking awesome." I don't care how, I know these are one-shots, but you need to make this an epic deal more than ever. It's been nearly a quarter century, and we hadn't gotten a crossover in so long. And here's the thing. There's a reason why we haven't gotten a crossover. It's because Danny Boy, aka the guy who constantly has a hate fetish for Wally West red hair, because I don't know, his feelings are hurt every time when he talks about him. So, yeah. He was the one who stopped any future crossovers between Marvel and DC because he felt like they shouldn't cross over because they're competitors, even though that is the dumbest reason possible. Like, if he was trying to argue about monopolizing the industry potentially, fine. If he wanted to make that argument, I could somewhat get that, because then they'll get the government on their scrutiny, and no one wants to deal with that. But no, he was just throwing a massive hissy fit about it, talking about how we can't have these characters cross over with each other. We're competitors. We can't be doing that. Even though there are people in the wrestling fandom that want AEW and WWE executives to stop the pissing contest and just work together and do something awesome for once together as a big event. Still saying they should, but that's a different subject altogether. Yeah, but yeah, when I heard this announcement, the one thing that came to mind, besides getting Dan Moore involved in the artwork, and also I would argue George Jimenez should join up in this endeavor, because let's be real, that'd be awesome. I don't know who they definitely should get Pepe Larraz and RB Silva from Marvel to do this as well. But here's the thing, I know there's just doing a one shot for each publisher. I'm on the opinion they should just go full out, go all in on it, and make a massive 12-issue crossover event, mostly for my own sadistic pleasure, for Secret Crisis, the Fable to Tease event crossover that was teased all the way back in Doomsday Clock issue 12, where they established that Hulk is powerful than Doomsday. So yeah, we're there. I definitely feel like they should address that finally, longer than they should, and they did tease it once upon a time with after Doomsday Clock. They had Thor address it in a way with the Black Winter in the Donny Cates Thor run, teasing that they were going to face the Black Winter essentially, but nothing really materialized out of that other than just being a nod that we still exist. But when I heard this, besides the artists that they should get, if they actually do go forward with a 12-issue crossover event with Marvel and DC and call it Secret Crisis, because damn it, that's the best name they can give it. A combination of Secret Wars and Crisis events. But here was my opinion. I was like, okay, if I was the head editor of this entire project, here was my philosophy. We should get the best Marvel writer, who I think is Jonathan Hickman, and we get the current ongoing best writer at DC currently, Mark Waid, since they are both very, very obsessed with knowledge and knowing of the whole universes of their comics. Make a 12-issue crossover event, but because in order to maintain a decent schedule, especially if the market team demands that they should release this bi-weekly or something bullshit like that, my opinion should be, okay, we get 4 artists. We get Pepe Larraz, we get RB Silva from Marvel, and we get Dan Mora and George Jimenez from DC. They work on separate issues, maintain a strong cohesive unit to try and keep track of all the continuity and all that's in the writing. They have their own little space with the artists and the writers getting together, and the writers of the other books and whatnot can make one-shots maybe to do this crossover right, to give it the justice it deserves, damn it. And there's so many routes they could go with it. They could continue the story from JLA Avengers, where they tease that it might happen again one day with the two cosmic gods like the Guardian and all that. But I kind of wanted to go further than that, instead of it being like this game of treasure hunt essentially. But like I'm thinking of this idea and I'm all giddy inside, like already ready to see it. And we're only just getting one shots, but now that the well is open now, we can go all in on this and just tell this massive story that has been virtually in the making for some years now after Doomsday Clock, and more so for fan hype because it's been over 20 years. I am just so excited. I need to see this event. I need to see this event. And having two top Marvel writer and top DC writer would make it a killing, with the 4 best artists of both companies. Oh man, I don't even know what the story should be. Like, I know we should call it Secret Crisis, and it should definitely feature the crossover of these two franchises. But it's hard to say how I want this to be told, and also I kind of did want to see Hickman's Krakoan era be factored into this, but that would make it more of a prequel, and therefore it would remove the tension. So begrudgingly, we would have to not do that, unfortunately, because Marvel hates anything different that's not MCU adjacent or pop culture adjacent. Yeah, that's a whole different animal to talk about. But I was just so hyped in talking about this. I was excited. Like, when I was looking through the bleedingcool.com, I saw the announcement and I was like, Did they actually just announce that? And there's no site publication, no article publication from Marvel or DC? Like, we're not going to talk about this? Even though this is the biggest fucking news since Hickmania came back to Marvel and did House of X and Powers of 10? At least in my eyes. Like, we're not going to do anything. And we also, but like, yeah, that was how annoying I was when I didn't find out about this from Marvel or DC's main sites. But, like I said, if we were to do one-shots, they should definitely just have characters who you want to see get together to hang out and do some crazy adventure in the middle of Secret Crisis. That'd be fun, like Battle World did for a little bit when they paused all their ongoing titles and limited series just to tell this massive story, which I'm all for if they do that, but during Hickman's Secret Wars event. But yeah, to do that would be an ambitious endeavor. Like, they could like find a way to, but I get why they probably wouldn't do that if it's 12 issues, because that would mean they would have to stop all the books for a year, stop all their active storylines, and therefore it would take a whole year just to resume stuff, especially if they left it on a pretty big cliffhanger, since they're doing big active event storylines right now, especially at DC with Darkseid being dead. But yeah, this is a dream crossover I want, the Secret Crisis event, but we're building to that. We're doing a one-shot, well, a two-shot story between Marvel and DC and Marvel. I am curious what they're going to tell with this story. I'm hoping for more details before it's too late. But they did say that this crossover return is set to happen this year. But I hope this leads into more. I definitely do. Especially when you remember there are so many kind of unresolved moments in the DC Marvel crossover, specifically since Tim Drake and Jubilee actually were a couple. Yeah, that was a thing that shocked me. Like, wait, they actually did that back then? Neat. And they left it on pretty amicable terms, wishing they could have stayed together longer. I wonder how Jubilee will react now, especially Tim Drake, considering where Tim Drake stands with his current relationship with Bernard, and Jubilee having been a vampire for a time. That lasted longer than Krakoa, and that still pisses me off. And she did have a kid, sort of, and then the kid became a dragon, and yeah, see how confusing this is? Oh god, this is so fucking confusing. Comic books are confusing. But if I keep going down that rabbit hole, fine. I'll be here for like 3 plus hours talking about this event. And I already did a 3-hour episode of NRC, and I said I would never do that fucking thing again. I regretted doing that, and I wished I should have broken that up into 2 episodes. But I was young and reckless on YouTube. So, yeah, even after the 2020s were going on. But, yeah. This is a fun time to be a comic book fan. I'm hoping for the best. I hope they do, after these one-shots and they do real well, that they eventually consider doing a crossover event story with the idea I proposed regarding the writers and artists, and coming up with a collaborative event to do this, to make a celebration of all things comic books. I look forward to it. This was your host, Harry Brown of Neo Reality Collective. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out our content in the description below in the description, and go ahead and follow me on Blue Sky and everywhere else. Stay tuned for the last outro, and I'll see y'all again next time. Peace, take care, and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. This is going to be a wild 2025 for comic book fans, isn't it? It definitely is.
And that was our latest edition of Neo Reality Collective. Be sure to follow and support NRE creator Eric Brown on Twitter and YouTube. Check the links in the description below, and we'll see you all next time.